Good afternoon, people of Derby. I'm Sanj, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So, welcome, 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 people of Derby. It's fantastic to be with you. And over the past few weeks, again, we've had some brilliant sessions from the people of Derby. We kicked it off with Andy Cope and the Article team. But since then, some of the sessions that have gone live have been from real Derby people. Like, isn't that just fantastic? And, you might be thinking a little bit differently, like, isn't that the whole point of Brilliant Derby, to have brilliant Derby people? And we've listened to you, and that is why we've got Derby people involved. And you'll see on the ticker above now that if you want to get involved with Brilliant Derby, please email us at yes@brilliantderby.org. And we're doing some amazing work in the community at the moment, and our aim is to empower and equip all of Derby and beyond, but secretly, let's just start in Derby. Let's focus on the Derby people. Let's focus on lockdown. Let's focus on the pandemic. Let's focus on building ourselves up so that going forward, we can be a more brilliant city together. And it's an absolute pleasure today to have a very special guest. But before I get to the special guest, we are looking for people to get involved with Brilliant Derby. So we know, and there's a lot of amazing meetings going on with the whole team behind the scenes, who is speaking about all the brilliant stuff that's happening in Derby already. So if you are somebody who's doing brilliant work in Derby and want to get involved, please drop us an email. If you know somebody who's doing some brilliant work in Derby for the community and you want to give them a shout out, please get them involved and email us. And also, if you want to get involved, whether that's in front of the camera, I think there's some stuff going on already for that, but please, there's no limit. So if you want to get involved in front of the camera, behind the camera, contributing, shout out in, whatever it might be, please feel welcome to email us. So today, without further ado, it's time to introduce another Derby man who's got a huge mission for Derby, which really, really excites me. So I'm going to call and see if my friend is there, Kul Mahay. Kul, are you there, my friend?
I'm here. Hi, Sanj. How are you doing?
Super, fantastic to meet you, Kul. I love the T-shirt. I love the sign in the back. Gosh, you're giving me a bit of background envy, which is a thing these days. But Kul, I know you're a Derby boy, but I'd love to get to know you a little bit more. Would you mind to introduce yourself today, please, Kul?
Absolutely, Sanj. So my name is Kul Mahay. I am the CEO and founder of Igniting Potential. Igniting Potential is a company that is particularly about leadership development, but we approach leadership development in a wholly new way. We go deep down into emotional intelligence and explore and unpack the 26 competency areas of emotional intelligence so that we can create organizations, communities, and cultures around, starting from within Derby, of empowered and very aware individuals where everybody feels valued and everybody feels inspired.
Love it. I want to pick up on a little element of that, Kul, please, before I ask you another question, because I'm really curious today about you. One, your background is inspiring for me, so thanks for the inspiration. Secondly, you mentioned about within Derby, and I know we spoke on the phone recently. And could you just share the vision that you have for Derby? Because it's really important, again, for me, hosting Brilliant Derby, and the feeling of people watching this, and the majority of people are watching this, I will be Derby people. What's your vision for Derby? Because that is what really got me excited.
Well, my vision for Derby is very, very simple, to be quite honest. I want Derby to become the global centre, if not the UK centre, the global centre for personal development. I want people from within the UK and abroad to see Derby as the place to go to for positivity, for mindset development, the place to come to experience what a community of like-minded, positive-minded individuals can look like.
Wow. Gosh, that is ambition. Gosh, you got to applaud. You got to applaud that. Gosh, you got to applaud that. That is brilliant, Kul. And and again, I know your story's fascinating, and I'm sure you'll share a little bit more in the moment about that. And maybe we'll pick that up at the end. Then noticing the headwear that you've got above your head too, as well positioned. But in terms of lockdown, let's take this a little bit deeper. I know you're going to go deeper, but let's go a little bit deeper before the real deep stuff. But in terms of lockdown, how have you found it so far, and what have your kinds of vibes or feelings been getting from those around you during this period of time? Because obviously it's an incredible time for all of us, but what are your 2 cents on that?
Well, when people talk about lockdown, for me, people very often focus on the last 3 or 4 months that we've been in lockdown, but actually we've been in a lockdown mentality for the last 12 months. So I like to look at it as a whole year of my life, which has been about increasing my level of self-awareness and giving me the opportunity of managing myself more. These are the first two quadrants of emotional intelligence anyway, to become self-aware and then to become better at self-managing. And the second two quadrants of emotional intelligence is become more socially aware and then build deeper relationships. And I've been able to practice all of that over the last 12 months. And I have to say that I've sort of welcomed what's happened over the last 12 months in the sense that we've been constrained to from this sort of rushing around that we ordinarily do. We've been constrained to a point where we've had to self-reflect and had to grow from within. And as a consequence, I've had much deeper relationships with a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, and a lot of my family. I've become more aware of who I am and what I stand for, and particularly the values that I hold. And it's really helped to solidify, I guess, for me, where I am and where I'm going. So it's been good. It's been healthy for me.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And again, so many points, we could speak for hours, Colin. I'm conscious of time today, but in terms of, the forced introspection as a society is fascinating, but also the fact that you've done, you've enjoyed this period, you've become better for this period. And a lot of people will have, but also a lot of people will not have. So, our session today with you is going to be about for those people who maybe not on the similar path to you, who want to feel better, who want to feel better about themselves and their relationships. You're all going to give us some practical tools and tips for them to be able to do that. So, Carl, I'm going to hand you over to you for about 10, 15 minutes. Do what you do best, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you very much, Sanj. Well, hi, guys. And Sanj is absolutely right. There'll be so many of us who have struggled during lockdown and perhaps are struggling right now to come out of lockdown into this new normality, whatever that might mean for you. And I'm going to give you some tips and techniques that I've adopted in my life that's helped me. And I work with so many organizations, and I've been working with organizations even up to right now, helping them to prepare their staff coming back to this normality where they're working next to each other again. But before I do that, I just want to share with you a bit of who I am. So my name is Kul Mahay, as Sanj has introduced me. I spent 32 years working within Derbyshire Constabulary, from a 16-year-old spotty-faced boy of just 16 as a police cadet, right up to this guy who became a temporary chief superintendent within Derbyshire Constabulary. I spent 7 or 8 years of my life at superintendent level. I've managed a whole multitude of departments, and I was a goal commander for major critical incidents. The one thing that I've become really, really passionate about in all of that time is leadership, and that is what I do now. Within Igniting the Potential, we help organizations develop cultures that help staff to feel valued, to be empowered, to feel inspired to do their very, very best. That's what I believe that everybody can have within them. And actually, beyond that, we can take that mentality and apply that to our community. And this is where what Sanj has alluded to comes in. So we created an event called Ignite Your Inner Potential, and that's where our company name really comes from. This event we started only 4 years ago with 70 people attending. And in this event, I wanted to share tools that people could take away with them to help sort of strengthen their mindset around these inevitable challenges that come along. If there's one thing that we can say about life is that there will be challenges along the way. It just happens. So don't be surprised when these challenges pop up, when these obstacles show their face. This is the reality of life. And I always say that it's not the challenge in life that defines who you are, it's how you respond to it. So I'm all about creating that strong mindset that gives you the resilience to fight through and power through these challenges. And anyone can do this. Absolutely anyone. The technique that I use is all around emotional intelligence. I talked about the 4 quadrants of emotional intelligence. Those are self-awareness. We need to have a deep level of self-awareness, a real understanding of how our emotions that we feel within our brain, how those emotions translate to the actions that we take. You see, the emotions within our brain sit within an area of our brain called the limbic system. It's also called the reptilian part of our brain because it's one of the oldest parts of our brain, and it's also one of the most the fastest parts of our brain. So anything that we experience goes straight to the reptilian brain, the limbic brain. And it's no wonder that a lot of the decisions that we make, a lot of the actions that we take are as a result, direct result of the emotions that we feel at the time. Let me put this into some level of context. So imagine that you're driving down the road and somebody undertakes you, or somebody speeds past you, or somebody just cuts up in front of you. There's a part of your brain that has become scared because it's fight or flight. Am I safe? Am I okay? There's another part of your thinking that's about, what an idiot. How dare he do that? And all of these are emotional responses, and they come straight from the limbic system. The limbic system is also there to keep you safe. So your immediate response could well be that you peep your horn, that you might shout all sorts of obscenities at this person. You might feel really, really angry. You might do something crazy, and you might exhibit road rage. And only 5 or 10 minutes later, you're driving down that road where you've parked up because you're all shaky, and you think about the actions that you've taken. You're not very happy with yourself. You're actually embarrassed by the actions that you took. And that sense of embarrassment is coming from a different part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, which is one of the largest parts of your brain. And it is probably one of the most powerful parts of your brain. It's the part of your brain that is all about logic, rational. It's about empathy. It's about fear modulation. It's about all of these kind of things, but it's actually slower than your limbic system. And this is something that people are going to be experiencing right now. Many of us are stuck within our limbic system right now. Because we've spent so long, a whole year, which is so unique to all of us. As a world, we are so used to rushing around. So for us to have to stop dead for a whole year and not be able to travel outside our house has been so incredibly painful for so many of us. I don't know if you're aware of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he says, look, there's 5 basic human needs all human beings have. The first one is food and water. The second one is security. Then it's a sense of belonging to the community, knowing where you sit within that community. And finally, it's about self-actualization. Well, many of us might have been at self-actualization, where we are, thinking about all the hobbies that we want to explore, all the spirituality that we want to, all the interests that we want to explore, how we're going to show up in the world and contribute to the world. Suddenly, all of that was taken away from us. And many of us went right back down to the very, very basics of food and water, safety and security. And some of us have been stuck in that mindset of, am I okay? Are my loved ones okay? Am I okay to leave the house, or is it too dangerous for me to leave the house? So we're now stuck in this rut. And in order for us to come out of this and prepare ourselves to come into the outside world, we have to understand our limbic system. We have to understand the emotions are assigned to these feelings that we are holding that prevent us from living our lives to the fullest of our potential. So by doing that, we have to get into the rational brain. And in order for us to do that, we need to slow down that limbic system. We need to take a breath. And one of the things that I always say is ask yourself strategic questions. The more questions that you ask of your brain is compelled to answer those questions. As your brain answers those questions, it has to then dip into your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, in order to answer those questions. And the more your brain is answering from the prefrontal cortex, the calmer your limbic system becomes. And before you know it, you are now thinking in a calm, rational, logical kind of mood. So whatever your fears are right now about, coming back out into the community, into your workplace, into looking for a job, if that's what it is for you, into exploring your hobbies again, ask yourself strategic questions. Ask yourself, if your fear is that you're going to catch a disease, ask yourself the questions. What is the likelihood? What is the risk associated with this? How can I mitigate against that risk? And at that point in time, you might even ask yourself, how much of the population has been vaccinated against this? Because of course, as the vaccination process increases, there's going to be a less likelihood of people infecting each other. So actually the streets will become safer. But the limbic part of our brain doesn't realize this. So it's always going to be emotional. It's always going to have fear at this very, very top of its agenda. And the fear part of how we respond to fear comes from 2 tiny little things called the amygdala. The amygdala is a literal translation for the word almond, because these are two almond-shaped pieces and they're about the size of almonds. These tiny little pieces within our brain actually control all aspects of how we respond to anything that we perceive to be fear. It will fire off they will fire off neurons to all sorts of parts of our brain as to how we should respond to any stimuli around us. But they can be reprogrammed, and reprogramming them means that we have to educate ourselves. And we can educate ourselves by asking questions of our prefrontal cortex. And if we don't know the answers, then the prefrontal cortex will want to know the answers. So we'll go away, we'll do some research. So that's my biggest piece of advice for you right now. Start asking yourself realistic questions. Get off social media, because I went on social media, and I don't very often go onto social media much. I went into social media today, and the first post that I came across was from this guy who was a conspiracy theorist against COVID-19 or against the government. And then I went on to his timeline, and it was just full of this. And the thing that I asked myself is, I wonder how this man sleeps at night. I wonder if he struggles to sleep at night. If this is a thing that he's thinking about all the time, can you just imagine the quality of life and the quality of sleep that he might be having, or the lack of quality? So get yourselves off social media, or manage your social media to the point that you only see positivity around you. Seriously. Jim Rohn, who I see as the godfather of personal development, he says you become the average of the 5 people whose company you keep most. Ask yourself, who am I surrounding myself with on a regular basis? Are they good people? Are they people who are going to lift me, inspire me, motivate me to do better so I can be at the very heart of my potential? Or are they people who drag me down? Are they people who scare me? Are they people who worry me? Are they people who are into conspiracy theories? Who am I hanging around with? Big questions and simple little things that you can implement in your life right now. As I said, my vision is for Derby to become the hub for personal development. We took our event, Ignite Your Inner Potential. 4 years ago, we had 70 people attend our event. Year on year, we've had people attending our event. We've had people turning up from India, from Trinidad, from Holland. And last year, in 2020, the event is every January, we had nearly 400 people there. There's always Bhangra at my events, and we like to dance. We have crazy fun, and we learn some deep stuff. Next year, next January, unfortunately, it won't be happening this year, but next January, we're hoping to have 500 to 600 people at our event, and the event will be at Derby Arena. So please do look out for Ignite Your Inner Potential next January 2021, where we as a community, Derby, will be creating some noise. And this noise that we create, I know Andy very often talks about this ripple effect. I am 100% with Andy. This is all about the ripple effect. Derby sits at the heart of England and Wales. If you look at the map, it's right there. And that heartbeat is the heartbeat that we're trying to create. And we're trying to, as you get that defibrillator on, we're trying to pump that so you have this electric shock that shoots out across England and hopefully beyond England, hopefully into Europe, hopefully around the Western Hemisphere, hopefully around the rest of the world. That is what we're trying to achieve with Igniting the Potential. I truly believe that we can reshape the way that we as a global community think. We can have less wars, we can have more equality, we can have more fairness, and we can have more love if we were just to start thinking from a deeper place. If we were not to be so limbic in our response, if we were to be more empathic of each other, if we were to rationally think things through and see it from other people's perspectives. That's what we're all about. I hope that you can join us on our movement. And it's so great to be a part of Brilliant Derby today, because I know Andy Cope, and I know that Andy is exactly of the same vision as I am. And talking about ripple effects, it was Andy who created a ripple effect for me to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I think it was something like 13 or 14 years ago. in the police service, I took over a department and I wanted to inspire this department. I had something like 90 staff, and somebody mentioned this guy called Andy Coe, bring him in. I brought Andy in. He blew everyone's minds. And, every single department that I ever took on after that, first person I brought in was Andy. And on one occasion, Andy actually turned around to me and said, why are you bringing me in? You don't need me. You've got everything yourself. And that was what got me thinking, hey, what am I going to do when I leave the police service? And I followed in Andy's footsteps, and I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And you know what? The mission is so big that I have to be on top of my game throughout. And I genuinely want to inspire Derby, inspire the East Midlands, inspire England, inspire the UK, and inspire the world. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Wow. Amazing. Kul Mahay in the house. Look at that, Derby. Jeez. That is fantastic. Really amazing. Love what you said. Very aligned with what you said, and your vision is infectious. You got to be careful of the usage of the word infectious, but infectious in the best way possible. I want to just pick up on one key thing. Again, I said at the start we can speak for hours, but one key thing, and it's about what you said about with the average of the 5 people that we spend most time with, and you alluded to social media earlier, and you alluded to how maybe physical, meetups are restricted, but we can still be connected to people virtually. So those influences are still definitely at play virtually. So give me a top kind of tip for, let's take this quite broad, but what kind of person, I know you said somebody who lifts you, but let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about the kind of person that you feel that most people need right now. What kind of energy, what kind of personality has that person got? Because, and the reason I ask you this, sorry, Carl, is just because a lot of people might be thinking that their family members or some of their neighbors are maybe not these type of positive people, but what kind of people are they looking for?
Okay, I mean, the answer is very, very simple for me. There are so many people out there, Sanj, who are the naysayers of life. What Andy refers to as the mood hoovers. There's a lot of mood hoovers around, and some haven't quite, achieved that 2% of being the mood hoover. They haven't qualified to that level, but there are plenty of people going towards that mood hoover level. But by the same token, there's plenty of people who are at the, the more positive end of the scale. There are plenty of people who smile every single day. There are plenty of people, and you just have to, these people as soon as you look at social media and you look at their profiles. If their profiles are all happy and their profiles are all around positive things, despite what's going on in the world, then hang around with those people, or at least have conversations with those people. I live by a very simple rule in my life, and it's some awareness that I came to only about 4 years ago while I was in this business. And I found that, in this industry called personal development, you again have people who at the mood hoover level, and then you have people at the higher echelons, and you have people who, bearing in mind, our job is to inspire people, to motivate people. So when I see a coach or somebody in our industry being a bit of a mood hoover, I just cannot stand it. So I realized that I can't connect with everybody in my industry, but I can only connect with the people who resonate with me. So here's my little quote, and hopefully it serves as a gauge for other people. I'll connect with like-minded people, but I only ever deeply connect or work with like valued people. And understanding your values is something that most people don't do. I have sat, and this is no word of a lie, I have sat in front of 8 or 9 very senior leaders of an organization, and because I teach values, and I'll say, so what are your values? And they'll all point at the wall at some post and say, they're our values. I said, no, they're not. They're the values of your organization. You align hopefully with those values, but they're not your values. You've borrowed those. What are your values as a human being? And this is where people start scratching their heads. So go on the journey. The journey is real, and it's a journey that we all need to go on. Go on a journey to understand what you stand for. What are your values? And then look for other people who have similar values to you. Trust me, when you connect with that person, it's a powerful, powerful relationship.
Carl, that's amazing. You have plenty of food for thought in terms of, one, people that we connect with, but also the emphasis there on connecting with ourselves first. That's something that's definitely been a theme. And like you said, despite what's going on in the external world, how we think and feel about ourselves impacts the way we think and feel about others, and it has to start from within. And if you can get some like-minded and value-minded people to help you on that journey is going to be a lot smoother and a lot more fulfilling. So Carl, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on Brilliant Derby, and I know that you'll be back very soon, and you're going to be a man who's going to be the center of Brilliant Derby and driving it forward in everything that you do. But Carl, until next time, and everybody who's watching, we'll see you soon. And Mikey's just going to put the ticker up again one more time to get involved. But if you want to get involved with Brilliant Derby, please feel welcome to drop us an email at any point in time, and we would love to hear from you. That's in front of the camera, that's behind the camera, that's being a guest on Brilliant Derby, and that's also contributing or giving a shout out to somebody else. So we'd love to hear from you, and we wish you the very best. But Carl, thank you so much. And until next time, Brilliant Derby, see you soon.